Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera show. And I have with me today one of my very special friends, someone that I have followed for years and years, and someone that actually needs no introduction. Susan Mason. Susan, I'm so happy to have you.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. This is such a treat.
Well, it is a treat, and it is a treat for me. I will have to tell everybody, Susan, that when I came to your absolutely fabulous home, I couldn't get enough of the artwork and just the pictures of things that you've done throughout your career. I was so spellbound, but I was starstruck because I've been keeping up with you for such a long time. And you know, for those of you that have had Susan cater your daughter's wedding or do a special event or anything of that sort, you know, I say my husband only puts a tux on if we're going to a Susan Mason catered party.
That is a very nice compliment.
Well, it's, you know, and this is just a great opportunity for us. I know everybody's getting ready for the holidays and hustle and bustle and all the things, but we still love pretty parties.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, in the South and especially in the Savannah area, but you go all over the country doing catering.
If you have a plane, send it for me.
Well, I know there are people out there with a plane, so we're going to get that done. But you guys, she has shared a special recipe with me. Susan is very famous for her crab cakes. So when she said that she would let us do the crab cakes on the show today, I was just overwhelmed. So we're going to get started on that, and we've got all the ingredients laid out in the order that they go. So we've got a whole egg yolk, some red pepper, and you tell me if I'm doing something wrong.
No, you're doing it perfectly so far.
And this is Old Bay.
Right.
And we've got Hellman's mayonnaise. Y'all, this girl is my soul sister because y'all know how I am about my Hellman's mayonnaise.
Mr. Hellman makes much better mayonnaise than I can make.
All right, then we've got some finely chopped red pepper.
Finely chopped green onion.
Green onion, and this is some Dijon mustard. And now do I mix all of this together?
Mix all that up.
All right. Gosh. And the red is so pretty.
The red is so pretty.
And I love red pepper much more than the green.
I do too.
Okay.
Now, you're going to put the crab in, and unfortunately, I did not tell Vera, I do not clean crab because there are very few shells in the lumps that I usually buy. So we just sort of massage the crab and put it in, and then you very gently toss it because you don't want to tear those lumps up like you did.
Like I did. And let me tell you something. You know, those of us that have been really close-knit on our recipes for all these years, I think, Susan, you decided that I was a friend enough that you could share the real thing with me, but we're going to leave this in the big hunts. And Michael at the Fresh Market, who I just love in the seafood department, he, you know, sold me the lump crab, and I really, honestly, the pieces were that big.
Jumbo lump.
So that's the secret that you are learning right now from Susan Mason. And I bet you didn't know I was going to tell the whole world.
Well,
here.
that's fine. Just don't clean. If you get the jumbo lump, which is like this, don't clean it, and you may get one shell.
Well, and see, this is why people love to go to your parties where you're doing these at stations. Okay, so I'm going to massage, and I'm going to let you walk down and get started on something that she is also very noted for.
This is my Christmas vegetable wreath, and I do it a lot for holiday parties. I don't always do one this large. This one is, what, 22 inches?
It's about 22 inches.
And usually I would use maybe a 16-inch. But you take parsley. This is Italian parsley, but I like just the regular, which I do have some here. And you take what I call a U-hook, and you just tear the stems off.
And you can pick these up at the you know, craft store or at the wholesale florist.
And I think they call something besides U-hooks, but they look like a U to me.
That's right.
So you cover the whole wreath with this parsley, and then you make a radish rose. Don't ask me how, but
I'm going to get that secret.
We're going to get that secret too.
Well, we're just going to get started on this because we're going to wrap up now and go into a needed break. But when we come back from the break, I'm going to put those crab cakes in some hot oil, and she's going to give me a tip or two on that, and then we'll continue with this wreath. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. And if you're just joining us, I'm with my really good friend, Susan Mason, a legendary caterer from Savannah, Georgia. But guys, she's global. You're international. And it's true.
Send a plane.
Send a plane. Send a plane, and she will be right there. So she keeps giving me these secrets about these famous crab cakes that you do. And so tell me about the process of putting those together. This is what we worked on.
Well, you just take what you've mixed up and you get a mound and you just, what I call, caress it, do it back and forth, and then you finally get it molded and it's a little bit fat. Then in the other hand, you want to start getting the breadcrumbs. Sprinkle those on, put it in the other hand, sprinkle more breadcrumbs. Don't put too many breadcrumbs. You just want enough so they'll turn brown. And once you have it molded, put it in the refrigerator overnight. That's important, so it'll set up. Now you can go ahead and
okay, so this is the tip. We've got the oil ready over here and some of these breadcrumbs, and you also told me that I should have gotten my breadcrumbs a little bit finer than this.
Yes, just fresh bread.
I just needed to come spend the whole week with you.
Well, I should have given you
all right,
instructions.
so here we go. The breadcrumbs are dancing in the pan.
That's right.
So this is the one you just did.
Now, you're going to put that one in there?
Uh-huh. Okay. Maybe not. How about one of these?
Last night, because this one has to set up.
Okay, so one of the ones that we did last night, I'm going to go ahead and drop that in. Can I do more than one?
Yeah, oh yeah, we can usually do 5 in a pan.
Maybe I'll do this. Ooh!
And you're going to have to keep turning them because they need to cook. You know, they've got
okay, so I'm going to do 3 at a time. Do you think I'm safe on this?
I would turn it down just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to let you walk back down, and we're going to do some more on the wreath while I keep flipping these. So tell us a little bit more about what's going on with the holiday wreath.
Well, I just like to have it chock full, and I use green beans every now and then, mushrooms, yellow squash, zucchini. I forgot to tell Vera, and I forgot to bring it, but sometimes I cut a little star. I have a little star cookie cutter, and I make a star in the center, and that makes it really Christmassy. And then you just keep on, and I like the vegetables on all around the side, in the middle. I just want it chock full.
Well, the thing I love about this, Susan, and certainly, you know, you've probably done so many of these, it's old hat, but for me, that would be the greatest thing to be the centerpiece for your holiday table. And, you know, as you said, you don't need to necessarily do one quite that large. How am I doing on these?
You're doing okay, but they're getting a little bit brown.
Okay.
So I think one of the secrets to the crab cake is how hot the oil is. So, and
I'm going to turn the temp down.
Since mine are fatter, and I'm afraid to put it in, I'm afraid it'd fall apart because we just made it.
Okay, well, we'll just keep doing these.
We'll try this and see if it falls apart. But because
this is what is so wonderful about having the actual author of the recipe with me, because it's all the little tips. See, look how pretty that is.
See, and that might fall apart because they really do need to set up.
Well, and that's a great tip, that looking at recipes that you can do in advance like this, that everything doesn't have to be done at the last minute. But this is another great thing that maybe you could do the frying part outside. I mean, we have, when you do the big events, you're doing it
we do
outside.
Right, in front of people.
Well, the other thing that I want to point out is that Susan, as a female entrepreneur, when there was not that many of us out there back when you got this business started and going, she has catered for people like Sandra Day O'Connor, Margaret Thatcher. I mean, just the list is too big to name. So I'm just so proud of what you've done as a female and what you've done for our state and how you have represented us all over the United States and the world. So we're going to come back in just a minute. I'm going to keep learning from the master, and when we come back from the break, I'm going to share my deviled shrimp recipe with you.
Oh,
so come back with us in just a few minutes.
That's looking great.
Okay.
Ask Vera is brought to you by Georgia Bank and Trust and Southern Bank and Trust.
Sonia Hanson in Augusta writes, when entertaining, do you prefer all of the food in one room or scattered throughout the house? Well, Sonia, here's my answer. I love to have as many people as possible when I'm entertaining, so what I like to do is choose rooms that would work well for food and then make the menu and the presentation ideas work with that room. For example, in my dining room, it's formal, so that's where I love to use the silver and crystal that was my grandmother's. I like my really fancy dishes in that room. And then in my study, it's a smaller room, but it's vibrant with golds and reds, so it dictates things that are pretty with those colors. The family room is the largest room in my house and several places in that room to put food. So whether it's a side table or the bookcases or even just a nook in an area in that room, I love to put all the favorites in there. And then finally, if you've got an outside area that can be used for entertaining, use it whether it's cold or hot. You can utilize outside furnaces and fans, but it's a great way to get the flow going when you're having people over. Sonia, I hope that answered your question, and if you have a question for me, send it to askvera@nbc26.tv. I want to remind everybody that the Aiken Christmas Craft Show is happening December 4th and 5th at the Odell Week Center. Over 100 vendors. If you'd like more information, go to cityofaiken.southcarolina.gov. Welcome back, everybody, and Susan and we're just having the best time.
This is so fun to be with you.
You know, and this just goes to show you that you need to get a friend and get in the kitchen and do some work together for the holidays.
Absolutely.
You know, don't try to do that wreath all by yourself.
Oh,
right?
it's a two-person job.
It is definitely a two-person job. So while we were away during the break, I got the shrimp ready for the deviled shrimp because I'm getting ready to share a signature dish of mine with you.
Oh, wonderful.
So we picked up the shrimp at the fresh market. I like to boil the water, then add my tablespoon or so of Old Bay seasoning, let that rumble again, then put the shrimp in and take it immediately off the heat and put the lid on and just let it sit there for 5 or so minutes, and it keeps it from being rubbery. You know, there's just nothing worse. So this is somewhat similar to your crab cake in that we're gonna put all of the ingredients in a bowl. I've got cream cheese, I've got Durkee sauce. Are you a Durkee sauce person?
Oh, I'm a Durkee girl.
I mean, so I've got the bottle out because sometimes people don't have any idea what we're talking about.
I put Durkees in my ham biscuits.
Oh my goodness,
Mix
yes.
of mayonnaise,
okay, we've got a cocktail sauce. I'm gonna use some grated onion, a little hot sauce, Tabasco. And this is the original recipe called for India relish because you used to be able to buy India relish at the store. Well, you can never find it anymore, so I like to substitute Wickles.
Wickles?
Wickles is a little bit hot relish. I love to use that. A little bit of black pepper and salt. And now I'm just gonna mash this together and just make it bond together. And then I actually, since we're doing this live on the air, I went ahead and got some done ahead that's gotten nice and chilled. So after I've gotten this all mixed together, I'm going to put my shrimp in, and I'm gonna take one of your little cute words because you know how she was massaging and stroking the crab. And caressing, all these great terms. I'm gonna do the same thing with this, with the shrimp, so that you're just getting that mixture all nice and in there. So I'm gonna keep working on this and add my other while you go down and work a little bit on your wreath. But Susan, I want you to share your cookbook with everybody.
Well, my cookbook has been very successful. The recipes are very easy, but I think the most fun about this book is to read it because it's sort of like a memoir, and it's how I got started in the business a long time ago. But the book was written with a good friend of mine, and she would, Barry Scardino, she would come over every afternoon and we'd drink wine, and I would talk, and she would write it down. And I just think she did a fabulous job. And
well, it is I can tell you, it is a beautiful book, and the things that Susan has done along the way in catering and entertaining, just that noted style, you know, just a little hint or two along the way throughout that book just gives you a new perspective on how to put a platter out on the table. It's just great.
You know, I think presentation is so important, because I've always said, if you look at something beautiful, you already anticipate that it's going to taste good.
That it's going to be delicious. And, you know, my years in catering, Susan, had us from, you know, I'm sure along the way you've had different signature pieces and different signature looks for how you did. And when I look back and reminisce through my nostalgia photograph album of the way we used to dress to do events. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
The all white with the lace aprons, and you know, then we got all into wearing what looked like tuxedos. And you know, Susan is an active part of her catering business to this minute. You know, if she is doing an event, she is all over the place, from the back of the house to looking like $1 million, like she looks today, on site in the front, greeting guests, and you know, then they know it's a Susan Mason event.
Well, I've had someone say that to me one time. If I'm paying Susan Mason prices, I want Susan Mason. So I do go to every party, I go to every event.
Well, and that's why you're so legendary, Susan. So I'm going to get started making a starfish out of this devil's shrimp that I've put together, and Susan is going to keep working on this wreath, and when we come back from the break, we're going to put together a beautiful presentation of how your holiday party can look. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Well, everybody, we've got Thanksgiving behind us now, but the holidays are right around the corner. And Susan, you've had the busiest holiday season that you've ever had.
I have. It's wonderful.
I mean, and for all of you out there that don't think hard work pays off, it does. And I'm so proud of what you've done with your business. And while we were away during the break, Susan got the wreath finished. Tell us about that, Susan.
Well, actually, it's a two-person job, and it takes a long time, so I didn't quite get it all the way around. But at the party, encourage people to pull the vegetable off, not the toothpick necessarily. It's easier just to do
pulling
that.
the whole vegetable
and then you can
off.
dip it. And this is a wonderful herb dip that's in my cookbook.
Well, how did I do on the crab cakes? I'm so glad.
You did very well, and I would like for you to taste one.
Oh, goody.
And now this is chutney, mango chutney. I like the sweet flavor.
And what did you bring for us to put the crab cakes on, those leaves?
Now, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I don't know the name of them, but I get them at the wholesale
So just
house.
any sort of big green leaf that
shiny,
you can pick up at the florist.
Or you can cut them out of your yard.
That's right.
So, but I like something to cover the tray.
Oh, well, I'm going to
like
take that from you. And then I finished on my shrimp mold, and as you can see, I didn't do a shrimp. I did well, I'm dropping everything. I didn't do a shrimp. I did a starfish and used the really thinly cut cucumbers to kind of look like the bed of seaweed, and then threw in a little bit of radishes just for pop. And then you did the radicchio and made a flower out of it, just peeled it back. So I want you to try this, and I'm just going to put it just on a little bit of a wheat thin, but this just really just goes wonderful. So quick at a cocktail party. And the recipe that I made would actually go for up to 50 people probably for a cocktail
wow.
party.
Thank you.
And as she said, this wreath was so big, but what we did, since we're doing seafood kind of a theme with the South, with the horns and the feathers and the cotton, it's just really putting together a great look. But we threw in some shells there, so you can't even really tell that you didn't have that. But I want to encourage everybody to get Susan's book. It's available on Amazon.com. Again, just some great ideas, some tips for entertaining, presentation ideas, and don't be intimidated. Just because she's catered to all these famous people doesn't mean that her recipes are not friendly to use and delicious.
They are very easy to follow.
Well, and I think just some of her hostess tips and things in here too are so great. In terms of putting all of this together for the holidays, always think of things that you can do ahead. The shrimp mold can be done several days in advance. You can cut these vegetables up earlier and just make that work. But I can't wait to try some of these recipes. And as I always say at VeryVera, no matter what you do it in good taste. And Susan, you are the classic Southern hostess. I mean, you have just brought so much notoriety to our area, and you've done it with such grace and poise. And I just thank you for that as a female entrepreneur. And I want to invite all of you to come back and join us again next weekend. But Susan, let's dive in.
Let's dive in.
And you all try these recipes. They're available on our website at VeryVera.com. Come back with us next weekend.
I had fun.